My name is Jesse Nolan. I'm the Director of Membership and Marketing for the Jazz Education Network. And I'm really glad that you're joining me this evening to talk about starting or creating a Gen chapter at your school or university or even your community organization. We have many types of chapters. They all essentially function the same, but we want people to know that you can start a chapter of Gen no matter what type of organization or ensemble you run. So if you're a school band director, middle school, high school, you can have a chapter of Gen. If you're a collegiate or university director, you can have a chapter of Gen. And if you are like a community organizer or you run an ensemble that's a community ensemble, it doesn't matter what the ages of the participants are at all, you also can have a chapter of Gen. And so I'm going to make my comments here really brief at the beginning. I want to give everyone who is giving us a little bit of their very valuable time this evening the basic information on why you'd want to start a Gen chapter, how much it costs, and what the benefits are to you and your students. And I'm going to give you the agency to go ahead and start creating your Gen chapter by making sure you have a link to our join page. And then I'm going to turn it over to student chapter officers of our University of Central Washington chapter and our University of Northern Colorado chapter to tell you about why their Gen chapter is so important to their jazz program at their universities. Obviously, we're speaking with student chapter organizers or leaders from universities, but every chapter has leadership. Each chapter is asked to designate a president, a vice president, and a secretary. So at the very least, this is an opportunity for your students to step up into some leadership roles. I'm sure many of you already have band presidents, vice presidents, librarians, etc. This is a way to kind of dovetail what you're doing in that respect with what you will be doing with your Gen chapter. So I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm going to share with you a link in the chat as well to what we call our join page. This web page is just our website, jazzednet.org/join, and I dropped that link in the chat. And if you scroll about halfway down the page, you'll notice at the very top, we promote our free chart program, which I will talk to you about in just a moment. And then the first thing you'll see here are all of the individual memberships. These are for individuals. So if you are a director and you're on this call and you think later, hey, I like Gen, it's cool, I like what they're doing, I would like to be a member, I don't know if I want to form a chapter, then these memberships are for you if you'd like to be an individual member. We do have a youth membership, so if you're a director here and you have students and you decide not to form a chapter, but you want your students to get involved with Gen and they're under 18, the great news is membership is totally free. All your students have to do is come here, click this join button, and when you click any of these buttons, it adds the membership to a shopping cart and you can check out. Of course, with a free membership, your students don't have to pay anything. We just ask that they give us their name and their email address so that we can make sure they get their membership benefits, because most of the benefits from Gen can be transmitted digitally, except for some of the things we're going to talk about here for the adults in the room in a minute. So students, they join for free. If you decide you don't want a chapter and you want to join as an electronic member, this is the price. It's $45, and a full member is $96 or $8 a month. You can pay monthly. I will go over the benefits in a minute, but I want to jump down to the chapters because by and large, our chapter memberships are the ones that provide the most benefits, and they drive the most benefits to you as a director and to the school. And the best part is that they are the exact same price as an individual membership. Our mission is jazz education. We are dedicated to expanding the jazz audience, to promoting performance, and to providing opportunities for students of this music and directors. So the price for an individual membership, $96, same price for a chapter, and it comes with a membership for you, the director. And then depending on what age your students are, they either join for free, or if they're over the age of 18, their memberships are $24 a year. Now, I want to tell you about the benefits of being a Gen chapter member, and these are just from the sort of on paper, you get what you pay for benefits, the chapter officers that are here are going to talk about the other benefits, the things that happen when you build community in your program, and the things that can happen when you have a Gen chapter for many years, as these two institutions have. So we have collegiate chapters, school chapters, and community chapters. Of course, collegiate chapters for colleges and universities, community chapters for non-school organizations like a church or a nonprofit that has a band or a choir, any community organization. And then, of course, there are school chapters, and those are for middle schools and high schools. Here's what you get as a chapter organizer, which is what you would be called if you decide to join Gen as a chapter. You get one full membership for you, the director, which is the school's membership or the institution's membership as well. And you get some special benefits as well. So the director is going to get a print subscription to Downbeat magazine every month. In your inbox, your actual physical snail mail inbox, you will get a publication, Downbeat magazine. If you're not familiar with Downbeat, it's been published since 1934. It is the jazz world's oldest publication. It has a lot of great things inside. I often recommend that you share these with your students. You leave them out in your band room. It's got transcriptions, articles, reviews, interviews, everything that you could want to stay in touch with today's jazz world. You'll also get Jazz Ed magazine, which is a special publication for jazz education. Has a slightly different bent than Downbeat because it's dedicated to school band directors. So the information in there is really, really geared towards school directors. There's reviews of gear, et cetera, things that are relevant to you and your teaching in school. Additionally, you get both of these publications digitally. So we will send them to you in an email as well. And your students will get these digitally as well. So all of your students, whether they're free members or whether they're college students who pay, they get a free digital version of Downbeat and Jazz Ed every single month. That means that if there's a great transcription or a great interview or a great article that you get in the print version, you can tell your students where to find that in the digital version. It's a really great way to keep new material, and to stay current with what's happening in the jazz world. By far, the biggest benefit that most directors love are our free charts. Every single year, you're going to get 6 free jazz charts. There's 2 big band charts, 2 combo charts, and 2 vocal charts each year. They vary in difficulty between medium easy to advanced. And so there's always something for you to play. These charts are available for 2 months and then they go away. So every 2 months, we send you an email and say, hey, here's the new chart. You download it, you save it, you keep it, you print it. It's yours to use. It's yours to play. It's yours to add to your library. And every 2 months, we're going to release a new chart. We also have some charts in there that are always available. Today, if you sign up, you can download 4 charts for free. In my opinion, that's worth the price of admission, $96. You can get less than 2 charts for that. And we're going to keep sending you one every 2 months. So that's a really, really big initiative. If you're interested, I can show you the charts currently. We've got Bourbon Street Blues, which is a vocal chart, Mr. Lee's Groove, Advanced Big Band. And then additionally, we have, these are the charts that were available this year. Mambo, another vocal chart, another easy big band chart, combo. This is the one that's available. And then we'll be making this one available here in December and then November and December. So this one's also available. And then we will start over in January. We'll have a whole new set of charts. These charts down here are always available. So right now there's 4 free charts for you to download. And then in January, we'll give you a new one every 2 months, free chart. And then finally, last but certainly not least, are all of Jen's programs. We have a lot of programs. And you'll notice that the school chapter column is a little shorter. That's because we have programs that are for students who are over the age of 18. And so obviously, if you're a school chapter, you don't have any students over 18. But I'll run you through our programs real quick. One of our most popular programs is our Jazz to You grant program. As a chapter, you will have early eligibility to apply for a grant to bring guest artists to you. We have been using this program during the pandemic. We have members who have been having virtual clinics, virtual lectures, have artists come and talk to their students virtually. Normally, these are for in-person performances. You fill out a form and you apply for the grant to bring a local guest artist to play at your school. The Generations Jazz Festival, the second one here, this is a festival that happens during our conference. We are doing it this year. Our conference is virtual. And it's a first come, first served festival. You pay a fee, either $175 for a large ensemble or $100 for a small ensemble. You reserve your spot. During non-COVID times, you would travel to our conference and perform for well-known jazz educators and adjudicators. Some of our educators and adjudicators are John Clayton, Victor Wooten, Jeff Coffin. They're really well-known artists and educators in the jazz world. This year, we're doing it virtually. We're going to connect over Zoom your kids and you with one of these artists to either listen to a performance that you may have recorded, or if you are rehearsing, you can play for the clinician and they will clinic your band. Student scholarships, we have 6 scholarships. One student application makes you eligible for all scholarships. It takes like 10 to 15 minutes to fill out the application and get a couple rec letters, and your students can apply for scholarships. If you're a chapter organizer, your students get advance access to apply for those scholarships. As an educator, we do have awards for jazz educators, multiple awards that are handed out at our conference. You can nominate other educators or even nominate yourself for those awards. We have a program called the Young Composer Showcase for age groups, spotlighting young jazz composers, and your students will be eligible for that as a chapter. For college-aged women and non-binary artists, we have a program called the Sisters in Jazz Collegiate Combo, which Domi has been a part of before. Last year, she was part of an amazing group of artists who performed at our conference in New Orleans and were led by the incomparable Tia Fuller. This year, we have actually just selected our Sisters in Jazz group. There's going to be an announcement going out this week. But this group this year is led by Ingrid Jensen. And we'll be performing at our conference in January. So if you're a director and you have female and or non-binary artists who are over 18, they can apply for this program up to the age of 29. For college chapters, we are beginning our collegiate mentoring program. This year after our conference, we are going to begin connecting every collegiate chapter with a mentor that hopefully suits their chapter the best, depending on what their chapter organizer is interested in having that mentor do. We don't currently have a mentorship program for school or community groups. As a chapter, you have eligibility to apply for research grants. We have a research publication. We send that to our membership digitally. And then, of course, as a chapter organizer, you can apply to have your school group perform at our conference, or you as an educator can apply to present a clinic at our conference. And then finally, as a member, as a chapter organizer member, you would be eligible to serve on any of our committees or on our board of directors. And then we do offer conference registration discounts to our chapter members. These prices are incorrect. Normally, our in-person conference is $250. It's $175 if you're a chapter organizer, and it's $50 if you're a student. This year, though, our conference is entirely virtual. So the prices are $75 for adults and $25 for students. But if your students are a member of a chapter, it's only $10 for them to attend a conference. That's over 70 clinics for them to see, over 50 performances that they can watch over the course of 3 days. I will make sure you have a schedule and information on our conference before you leave this session, but you do have to be a member to attend the conference. So even if you don't form a chapter and you don't decide to be a member, please pass this information to your students. If they're under 18, they can join for free. And if they're interested in jazz, $10 gets them access to the largest global online jazz festival that has been put on so far. This is a huge event that we're hosting, and it's going to be amazing. So that's the rundown on chapters. If you would like to join a chapter or look at this information, the link is in the chat. It is just jazzednet.org/join. And if you click one of these buttons here, which I will do right now for you, what ends up happening is you are forwarded to our checkout system where you would be asked to proceed to checkout and pay for your membership. If you need to submit a purchase order, you can choose to do that or make or a check or purchase order. And once we receive your purchase order, we'll mark your check, we'll mark your membership as paid. And if you pay upfront with a credit card, if you have the ability to do that with a P card, or if you are purchasing it and then being reimbursed, the minute your purchase is final, you will receive an email confirmation and an email that tells you what the next steps are. It's really simple. After you purchase your chapter membership, you're asked to do two things, two forms. One, tell us about your school. What's the name of the school? What's the address of the school? We want to know about your chapter. What ensembles do you have at your school, etc. And then finally, we'll ask you to do a quick fill in the blanks to create your bylaws of your organization, which we will email back to you, and then you can edit them at any time. So that you can establish your bylaws, and then you will receive in an email what we call your coupon code. Your coupon code gives your members the agency to sign up on their own and receive their discount. We realize every chapter runs differently. Some chapters, like the two you're going to hear from tonight, their college students pay the chapter for their membership, and then the chapter pays the organization. So in that case, I just communicate with the chapter organizer, which in this case would be all of you out there, and you tell me how many memberships you want if you're a college, and I can invoice you. If you're a high school, I make it very easy. You send me a spreadsheet with your students' first, last names, and email address, and I create their memberships, and they get an email from me explaining that their band director created a chapter and now they're members. And if your college students need to sign up on their own, we'll send you a discount code, and they can go right to the join page that I was showing you and choose a membership, and they can enter their code for a discount. And they can also use the same code to register for the conference. With that said, I talk to chapter organizers every day. So if you do form a chapter, I'm going to reach out directly to you and say welcome and ask you how I can help you get your chapter members to get memberships to your chapter members, and also if you need any help registering for the conference. So before I turn it over, there's a great question that came in. It says, the question is, our conservatory is already an institutional member. We have other memberships. For those of you who don't know about Jen, schools can be institutional members and companies can be corporate members. That allows them to exhibit at our conference. The question is, if we already have an institutional or corporate membership, does that have an impact on setting up the chapter? Do we have to join as a chapter as well? To answer the first question, no, it doesn't have any impact on setting up the chapter, but yes, you do have to have a chapter, an active chapter membership in addition to the institutional membership in order to set up a chapter. Please, if you have other questions, don't ever hesitate, throw them in the chat, and we will collect them. We're going to have an opportunity right now for all of you to ask questions about the information that I presented, about the chapters, the charts program, anything that you would like to know about. Please feel free to throw your question in the chat, or just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. So floor's open for questions about this information here, how to form a chapter or the benefits or any of the other info. Any questions? Can you transfer your current membership to start a chapter? Absolutely. Amazing question. So if you are already an individual member up here, if you're a full member, we can convert your membership directly to a chapter because you already paid $96. And it's the same cost. So what we would do is convert your full membership to a chapter membership with the same expiration date. because you've already paid for that. And then when it's time to renew, we will send you a reminder, and it will be a reminder to renew your chapter membership. If you have an electronic membership, a $45 membership, we'll gladly convert your membership, and we will issue you a credit for the unused portion of your electronic membership. And then we'll start you on a new chapter membership. Instead of $96, it'll be whatever we owe you on your previous membership, 96 minus that. Great question. Yes, easy to transfer your current membership. If you need to do that, you should send me an email directly, because I have to do that on my end. And I will put my email in the chat. It's just jesse.nolan@jazzednet. But if you ever need help, you can always email support@jazzednet.org. And if you can still see my screen, in the lower right-hand corner, there's this little gold chat box on our website. If you ever need help or you have a question, please just chat with us in the box. I just got a notification, so I'd love to chat with you all anytime. Just let me know what you need in the chat here. And if I can't respond directly right away, I have my out of office on because I'm here talking to all of you wonderful people. You'll see this little message, and I'll ask you for your email address, and I'll get back to you immediately, as quickly as I can.
Jesse?
Yeah.
If I could real quick, this isn't a question, just kind of a comment and a thank you. We have a club set up through band. We have a club set up through choir, but we didn't have a specific jazz club at our school. And my president of what was to be my jazz club was not super good at getting our bylaws and everything taken care of. He had all the boilerplate. And I just have to say, for any of you schools that don't have that already in place, I took the stuff that came to me that I had filled out on to do our chapter and sent it right to my front office, and it was all done. So we didn't have to deal with any of the school's regular boilerplate. She said, this is a better set of bylaws than what we have, and was really happy. And so it saved us a big step of setting up the club specifically at the school. So super appreciative of that. But also for those of you that maybe don't have a jazz club set up specifically at your school, the materials that you fill out to get your bylaws and such, at least for high school, in my office in Nevada, seemed to dot all the I's and cross all the T's necessary. So super, super appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have Shayna Ellis and Joe Walrath, who's also on the call, to thank. They provided us with their bylaws, their Central Washington University bylaws, and we worked with them to kind of craft a set that would work. And then just so you know what Dean is, by the way, that's Dean Snavely. He is the vice president of our Nevada area unit, which is a whole other thing that we have. We have communication channels set up throughout each state. So there's a chance that some of you who aren't already Gen members or who are uninitiated with the organization, you might hear from people like Dean who are advocating at your state level for you to set up chapters at your school. But thank you very much, Dean. I really appreciate that. We try to make it easy. We try to be really clear in our emails. Please do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. And we are always happy to work with your front office, your music office, whomever, for payments, for purchase orders, for memberships. I do that all the time. I'm a former school band director of 14 years and a college professor who's come to work full-time for Gen. And I take great pride in serving the music education community. And I know what it's like. I can't imagine what it's like right now. So we try to make it easy on you. And if you ever have any special requests, just send an email, support@jazzednet.org. That's what we're here for, to support you. So if you think of questions as we keep going, throw them in the chat. But now I'm going to turn it over to the president and the vice president of the Central Washington University chapter of the Jazz Education Network, Shayna Ellis, president, and Zach Moutz, vice president. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Shayna. I'm going to share my screen real quick. So we're going to show you how to have a Gen chapter at your school. Besides all the benefits Jesse just said, we have a lot of options on what you could do like at your school or college. besides all the benefits you can get. So this is kind of a summary of what I'm going to talk about. Our whole chapter is student run. So if you have a really put together like high school band leadership, I'm sure they would be really happy to kind of organize the Gen chapter. Like as college students, we're always looking for opportunities for leadership, something to put on a resume. My advisor that kind of set up the paperwork doesn't really do much. So he's happy about that. And I'm happy about it too. So Zach is gonna take this slide.
Yeah, so we are a rather developed Gen chapter, so we have quite a few officers on our board. But basically, these are all students who are extremely dedicated to the Gen program and just the jazz program in general at Central Washington. And basically, we have our president who just kind of leads everything. Shayna takes care of most of the business that goes on with Gen, especially recently with fewer other programs going on among COVID. The vice president just kind of helps out the president. We'll take care of anything maybe the president doesn't have time to get done or something that the president really needs help with. That's where I'll step in as vice president to just kind of add that support. The treasurer will just kind of take care of whether it be fundraising, a lot of budget stuff, just various ideas and things just related to maybe people paying the Gen dues, anything that has to do with money and the club. The treasurer will take care of that. And then the secretary is in charge of maintaining our Gen website. They're in charge of taking notes at any kind of meetings we have. They typically go to the Gen conference, and they'll bring back a ton of information to kind of pass on to the rest of the board and the rest of the jazz program. Then we have our senator, who is in charge of just going to all of our club senate meetings, which is where every club at our university will kind of meet up. In this case, it's been through Zoom. And our senator will just kind of bring back any information that we need to know just about things going on within the university. How can we better ourselves as a club, things like that. And then we have our jam coordinator, which we put on bi-weekly jam sessions typically in a non-COVID year. They're just in charge of coordinating that, coordinating ensembles, but we'll get into that later, as well as our reading band coordinator, which just coordinates basically the same thing, but with a live big band where they sight read big band charts. Then we have our vocal jazz representative, who is typically just one of the jazz vocalists at our school who represents the vocal jazz program as a whole and tries to kind of break that barrier between instrumental jazz and vocal jazz. I'll hand it back to Shayna.
So in our CWU chapter, there's two kinds of memberships. One is it's free, and any CWU student can attend any of our events for free. But if students want to be a full CWU Gen member, they pay just $10. And this year we're making it $5 for COVID. And this gives them access to attending trips, like going down to Jazz Alley and seeing someone, or to go to the National Gen Conference. They can also rent out equipment. We have a nice keyboard and amp and mic that students can rent if they pay. And we have resources on our website from like notes and recordings from past clinics we've had at Central, and also notes from the Gen Conference. I'm pretty sure we have stuff dating back to 2014. And when we bring out guest artists, if they pay that $5 or $10, they can put their name in a raffle to have a free private lesson with them.
Hey,
some images. Oh.
Hey, Zach and Shayna, sorry to interrupt you. I'm going to ask, there's a great question that came over. I don't know if you saw it. The question is, how do you usually collect dues? And have you had issues with students being reluctant to pay for their dues as opposed to you having a club without payment?
Yes, it's always a struggle. This year especially, it was a struggle, and honestly not that many people paid their dues. But our events are open to anyone anyways, and lots of people attend our events without the payment.
For your chapter, the payment is required to do certain things like use your equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you want to go to the Gen conference, you have to be a Gen member. But for all of you out there who are running high school chapters, obviously there is no payment required for your students. So that's one big difference between the high school chapters and the collegiate chapters, is that the college students do have to pay for their Gen membership. We should probably tell people that your dues for your chapter aren't just the $24, correct?
The students can choose whether to, if they want to be part of the national organization, they pay the $24 and
Right.
they get all these benefits you listed. But if they just want these things shown on the slide, the full access, that's just the $5 or $10 for just the central Gen Club.
Cool. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thanks for that.
So here's just some images of our Gen website. And actually on the topic of adding incentive to get students to pay their Gen dues, a lot of the stuff we have on here is like notes dating back to all the previous Gen conferences and all kinds of clinics and all kinds of information. But you don't really get access to that unless you are a Gen member. And that is a way that we're able to kind of get people to pay their Gen dues. I will say, if you go to this website right now, it is not updated. Just with all the craziness of everything going on, and as we adjust to the current setting we're in, we have been a little behind on updating this website, but it will be updated within the coming weeks. But it's just where we keep everything, just upcoming events, such as like our Women in Jazz Day, which is coming up, and anything related to the CDW Gen chapter is just on this website.
Also, in the past, one big, a lot of people would pay their $10 dues because I think the big seller was that you get to go to the conference if you pay your dues. So a lot of people would pay the $10 because they're like, wow, I want to go to the conference, but it'll cost me like hundreds of dollars for a hotel and flight and that. So we get funding by the university for that, and all they have to do is pay $10. One of the biggest part of our Gen chapter, the like most popular attended thing, are our jam sessions that we host at like the local pizza place here in Ellensburg, and we try to make it like really fun and inclusive for everyone, and having like themes and a tune of the week, and we have an upperclassman host them. And we have a sign-up list, so it's really organized. And since we're not able to do that this year, we have like an online version of like just a central student version of Facebook's Jam of the Week, if you've heard of that Facebook page. We just made a separate one for just CWU students for them to post and feel comfortable sharing their music.
And then here is the big band counterpart to that is very similar to the jam session. It's very organized. We have a reading band coordinator pick out charts ahead of time, just kind of advertise for people to kind of come in and then just take like 8-9 charts and just over the course of 2 hours, just read them down. And they'll have student volunteers, to typically those who are education students, maybe upperclassmen who are about to go teach, and they get the opportunity to kind of direct this band and get that little bit of experience and like what it would be like to be in a jazz rehearsal with a school band right before going out and teaching. And this something with reading band as well as our jam sessions is we always emphasize on top of everything that it is a healthy, safe learning environment, that it's judgment free, and that like if you're going to make mistakes, this is the place to make them. And just really just kind of like push the education aspect of this on top of that live performance energy. Yeah.
We also have things besides our like big things we have like in the past we've held like listening sessions, like a jazz movie night, and we have some clinics. Like last year, we had this really cool clinic where we brought out a elementary music teacher from Washington, and she taught us how to play the blues on boom whackers, like those colorful things, and it was really fun.
So here's another thing, that another benefit of being a Gen member at Central is we'll have local trips, whether it be going all the way, driving into Seattle to go to Jazz Alley and see maybe Victor Wooten's in town, or going to the Four Seasons in Yakima. Like last year we had Dave Weckl come, and it was a pretty incredible experience. And it's just like local trips around where we'll have Gen members like sign up to hop on the van and just head out to these to go see professionals. I mean, we don't get a lot in Ellensburg, so it's always a really fun experience to go out and just see some like just people's heroes. And yeah, that's just one of the many benefits of being part of a Gen chapter, is that it's just another one of those things where you get to go out and see live jazz, and it's something that we promote very heavily.
And then every year we send 8 people to the Gen conference. We want to get like every clinic covered so that we can send back the information we learned at the conference to our whole music education department. So we send enough people to cover every clinic, and we have them take notes, and then when they come back, those notes go on the website for CWU Gen official members, and we kind of share what we learned there in a meeting.
Sorry, Jazz Band 4 and Vocal Jazz 3. These are 2 non-credit groups that are fairly new. I believe they've only been around for a few years in Central Washington. The biggest thing is they're student directed. So at the end of every year, or every quarter, depending on who graduates, students can apply to be a director of these groups. And it is something we take rather seriously. It's not just anybody can direct the groups, and it's typically the top jazz students and jazz educators at our university will get these positions, and they always do an incredible job. And the biggest thing is that it is like real life experience of directing a band before they're off and teaching at a high school or a middle school. And it just gives them that experience that they really genuinely need in order to be out and become a successful jazz director. And these are groups that we like, it's very like relaxed. As said right here, a lot of people play their secondary instruments, like maybe a trombone player really wants to try out drums. So maybe they'll go to Jazz Band 4 or Vocal Jazz 3 and get that experience of playing with a big band. Without the pressure of, I really need to sound good for this recording we're going to put out on YouTube or something like that. And it's just always a fun experience, and it's a great experience for anybody who's going to become an educator.
We also put on a vocal jazz showcase every year where vocalists have the opportunity to sing with rhythm section. And yeah.
So clinics, this is something you don't have to be a Gen member to ever go to. We put on lots of clinics, typically 1 to 2 a quarter. Here are some examples right here. Rhythm Section 101, which is maybe, in the past, we've had like maybe like our Jazz Band 1 rhythm section will give a clinic. Or if we can, we'll get professionals out of Seattle or Portland to come out and give a clinic on things like this. But it's really just to kind of give as much information as we can. And we try to educate not just those who are involved with the jazz program, but those who are maybe a violin player, but they know they're going to be a director someday. They really want this knowledge. We try to just kind of advertise this to everybody. And we go over a lot of things. Or how to rehearse a jazz band is typically taught by our very own Professor Bruyere. And it's just an incredible clinic that just really gives students the information they need to be successful.
Yeah, and this is a way, if you're in a college director, you don't necessarily need funds for this. You can just ask other professors to do clinics. Like just the other week, we had our French horn professor do a clinic on how to improvise for classical musicians, and it was really awesome.
And you can apply for a Jazz to You grant if you'd like.
we try to bring in at least one guest artist a quarter, and then once every year we'll also bring in maybe a bigger artist to kind of perform with, usually with our band one at our jazz fest. But what we'll do is they'll bring them in, they'll give clinics throughout the day, usually to our combos class. They'll meet with the big bands, sometimes the vocal jazz ensembles as well, and depending on when they come, maybe they'll host a jam session. Right here we had Steve Tressler come up, and he got to host a jam session, that was super cool to get students of a variety of skill levels to get to play with a professional, get that feeling, which is just super fun. And then when we have a guest artist out, we have a raffle. Anybody can put in their name to get a lesson with whoever comes out. One of our last guest artists we brought out was a trio from Portland called Trio Uncontrollable, and they met with our combo and they put on a concert for everyone, and it was a great way for everybody to get that firsthand experience of getting feedback from a professional outside of Ellensburg, Washington. And we try to bring in at least one guest artist a quarter.
Our biggest event that CU Gen does is Women in Jazz Day. We bring out 8 professional female jazz musicians, one on each typical jazz instrument, and we have clinics, master classes, panel discussion, all female jam sessions, and then a big performance with all of the guest artists playing together at the end. And it's free. It's open to anyone and everyone, especially this year since it's going to be in an online format. It's going to be on April 10th. And anyone across the country or even the world can attend our event this year. And something that's special to Washington, in the past years, we've been able to have Washington Music Educators Association members clock their hours. And then that's the link to our website. We're in the process of updating it. Yeah.
And then, wait, go back, because this is the coolest thing about your chapter. I want everyone to take note. The person standing in the middle of this picture is Domi, who is our University of Northern Colorado chapter vice president. Domi is, I believe, the very first person to graduate from one chapter and take up residence at another and be the first dual chapter member. So I just think that's cool. I think it's very cool that you're carrying on the program, Domi, and you're staying Gen strong over in Colorado.
So this is an important part of our Gen chapter, is how to get funding. We have fundraisers. When we were in person, we sold pizza, and just students in the music building would buy it. We are a club that's part of Central. Central has a bunch of different clubs. Anyone can start a club. So we are an official club. We also have applied for Gen grants that people who have chapters can apply for to help fund. And this year we're trying out a live stream attached to a GoFundMe to raise money. And the GoFundMe will be attached to our club account. And then just requesting funds from the university, the services and activities center, and the academic club senate, and the diversity and equity center, career services. There's all these different sources of funding within our university that we take from. Also, other clubs, especially in the music department, there's trumpet club, saxophone club. They're sometimes willing to lend over $25 or so here and there. So yeah, that was all. That kind of shows the potential of your Gen club at your school. If your question doesn't get answered, you can email us at that email. But yeah, I'm open for questions right now.
I just have one quick thing to say. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Lawrence. I actually went to Central for my undergrad and helped start the Gen Club, and it was nowhere near as organized as it is now. So it's really cool to see all the work you guys are doing and putting into it. And right now I'm at UNLV in Las Vegas as a grad student trying to start our jazz chapter with some other people that are here. So it's
Dual
really
chapter member.
inspiring for us to see everything that you guys are doing and all the kind of start of the ideas that me and my officers had when I was president, and then 6 years later, all the changes that have made. So nice job. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Thanks,
a lot
Mary.
of that was due to Domi. So thank you to Domi. She really got things going. But yeah, that just shows that like you don't have to start all of this all of a sudden. These are just the possibilities. You can start with something small and let your students take over.
Exactly. I think that's a great point, Shane, and we'd love for you out there to start very small, right? Just get your chapter membership and then check out our programming. The first thing that's coming up is our conference in January. I'd very briefly like to share just a tiny bit of information about that before I flip this to Domi. I've been talking about our conference, and many of you have probably received emails about it, but I want to share with you some of the really, really amazing things that are happening, particularly for younger students. So this year we have 12 special masterclasses for young musicians. These are collegiate and high school level, middle school level clinics, instrument specific, being put on by these individuals: Tia Fuller on sax, Dan Wilson on guitar, Obed Calvert on drums, India Owens on bass, Janae Kendrick on vocals, Helen Sung piano, Marshall Gilkey's trombone, our Gen president, Sean Jones on trumpet, Erica Von Kleist, she is doing two, one on flute and one on woodwind doubling. Jamie Abersold, Fran Vilma on percussion. Jamie is doing one on improvisation, not just saxophone. And Eddie Severn is doing one about getting your high school trumpet section in shape for all of the trumpeters and band directors out there. And these are just the clinics for the young musicians. Your students, if you're high school director, this is $10 for them to attend. There are also over 50 other clinics and performances. Here are some of the performers: Christian McBride, Alexa Tarantino, Ambrose Akinmusiri, Jamie Abersold's also performing, David Sanchez, Randy Brecker, Jeff Coffin, et cetera, et cetera. There are over 50 performances in this vein. Additionally, there is a large schedule of interactive clinics. We will be doing highly interactive clinics with many of our clinicians at the festival. You'll be able to see them. They'll be able to see you. You can ask them questions. You can chat with them. And these topics and schedule are already posted on our site. For students, college, high school, doesn't matter. If they're chapter members, this conference is $10. For directors, it's $75. And if you're a chapter organizer, you will get replays of all of the clinic sessions for the life of your membership. So that's 50 plus clinics that you can use in the class with your students or on your own for professional development that you will have access to beginning on the day of that clinic in January, as long as you're a full member or a chapter member of Gen. It requires that you keep your $96 a year membership in order to keep that access. But you can see how we're building a library of some of the best jazz resources taught by some of the best names in jazz so that you can access them and your students can access them. And so I'm going to flip it to Domi here. The one question that I get asked often about this conference this year: yes, you can watch with your students. So if you are the member and you pay the $96 and your students are in class with you, you can, the conference is streaming. Put it up, watch it with them. Of course, you can also watch those sessions afterwards with them, the clinics that you get if you register. So this isn't just a one-time 3-day event. This is something that's going to provide resources to you, the conference I'm speaking of specifically, for a long time to come, and not just your Gen membership. So check out the conference for sure. But remember, it's for your student members who are under 18, it's free to join and $10 to go to the conference. So it's a really great opportunity this year. If you have questions, keep throwing them in the chat. I'm going to give Domi and Mark, the Vice President and President of the UNCO chapter, respectively, a chance to talk about what's going on there at their chapter and answer any other questions you have. Domi, Mark.
All right. Hello, everyone. So my name is Domi. I am past president of Central Washington University and currently vice president at University of Northern Colorado. And it's been really cool to work at these two different chapters because ultimately all the things that Central does and all the things that UNC does is to serve whatever the student body needs. So what Central Washington needs is very different from what UNC needs. For one, there isn't a formal jazz degree or jazz program at Central Washington University, and there's a huge body of music educators. So a lot of the things they do are specifically targeting what needs they have. At University of Northern Colorado, we do have a really strong jazz program. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to find gaps in the education that, I mean, every school has them. There's, because the needs of the students change every year. And there's only so much our faculty can do, as well as integrate with the community. Like Central Washington University is kind of in the middle of nowhere. So they need to organize their own jazz jams, otherwise there won't be any within 100 miles. Whereas in Greeley, we have some more like local organizations that we're working with, which Mark will talk about in a bit. So a lot of what we do is mostly we're bringing in clinicians. We've been doing it about every other week so far this semester. Like Central Washington University, we are a registered club. There are less resources available to us through the university, but we are still able to apply for a couple grand worth of funding each semester from the university, plus that Jazz to You grant we can do once a year from just being a registered chapter. And then so Central Washington has that $10 that's for like to be their member, and then they have the option of joining overall gen. Since we have a jazz degree, what we've sort of done is it's mandatory and to be a member of the national organization. And we do this, we've worked with the faculty where becoming a gen membership is the textbook for private lessons. So if a student is enrolled in private lessons, they are required to register for gen. And they actually pay us, the chapter, a $50 fee. And that's $26 for us to bring in clinicians because we need that to make things happen. And then I send Jesse a list of names and emails. He gives me an invoice, and then we pay out of the club account for the student membership. So they only have to pay to one location. Just another way to do it. And we are fortunate that we're able to require it of our students. Since Greeley, Colorado is only about an hour out of Denver, so oftentimes in normal times, when big clinicians come or big artists come through Denver, we like to poach them for a clinic because they could easily drive up to Greeley, give a 2 p.m. clinic, and still make their gig down at Dazzle or wherever they might be playing, which has been really nice. But yeah, that I would say our big thing is it's important with whatever you do because we're a less active chapter, but we direct more efforts towards clinicians with jazz artists because that's what our student body needs. There's only so much money available to our jazz department. It's a public university. I'm sure you guys know how it goes. So that's kind of where we're stepping in. And Mark will kind of talk about how we interact with the community as well as kind of how we're organized.
Yeah, thanks, Domi. So I am a third-year doctoral student here at UNC, and last year I served as vice president. This year I'm serving as president. So it's kind of been cool because I did my undergrad and master's over at Eastman, and we didn't really have much involvement in Gen at all. So coming to UNC has been a great experience. I've been to the conference every year here. So I've really just enjoyed everything related, and I wanted to get myself more involved. So applied to be an officer. So something I wanted to talk about is kind of like the officer specific experience here. During COVID, specifically, we have been meeting actually outside when the weather was nice. We've been meeting outside at a local coffee shop. So already just that was kind of a nice way to get to know people, have a social experience here. But I wanted to point out our past two presidents, Jack Robin and Janet McLean, actually, when I reached out to them to ask for help in the beginning of the year, they told me that their involvement being the president here was a huge point in them getting college teaching jobs right after they graduated. They said everywhere they went in their interviews, that was a big beauty mark on their resume. So just for officers, I think it's a great way to build the resume. So we get together, I think Domi might have mentioned, we get together once a week and we just discuss everything that we're trying to make happen, fundraising initiatives, guest artists. And another cool thing about the officer experience is you get to reach out to these famous musicians. Last year we had Pete Bernstein and Dick Oates come in, and this year, actually this Friday, we're going to have Pasquale Grasso, this unbelievable guitarist from New York, Italian guy. So we get to reach out to those people. We also get to kind of make UNC look good because we're bringing in artists from all around. We brought in a lot of people from the West Coast and New York City, and so that's really great. And it also gives the officers an opportunity to take part in all of the administrative side of things, which I feel going through music school, you don't get much of an opportunity to do. And all of a sudden you're out in the real world and you don't have that experience, right? So that's been kind of nice. One thing we were excited about this year, our program is very heavy on graduate students. And sometimes we feel like our undergraduates do not get involved as much. So we decided the first day when we realized that all of our officers were graduate students to add a couple of positions. And I think this is good to think about if you have your own chapter or want to make your own chapter, is how do we represent all of our students? So we had, through our election, nobody from our vocal jazz program and nobody from our undergraduate body. So we decided that we were going to hold a second election at the beginning of the year for an undergraduate representative and for a jazz vocal representative. And now they serve also in the administrative side. They help get us ideas for clinicians to bring in for the vocal jazz side, which I'm a saxophonist. I'm personally not as experienced with. So that's been really great. But we also try to incorporate our members and our general jazz body here just by sending out surveys. Who do you want? What kinds of clinics do you want? We serve, or we try to get cover all the saxophonists. I got a one-track mind. We try to cover all the instruments and composition and music business and people who are in masters of social media, just to prepare our students for everything they need to be successful musicians after school. Let's see here. So yeah, Domi had mentioned a couple of specific things to Greeley, and this has to do with fundraising. We've actually in the past worked with some local businesses. One is actually Chipotle, and anybody who's ever been to UNC knows how valuable Chipotle is to our community here. I would say the jazz department probably spends about $150 to $200 a day at Chipotle. So I see Mike Conrad laughing over there. So we actually had a day for Gen where every purchase that was made at Chipotle gave $1 or $2 to our Gen program. So that's one way to raise some money. Another big thing is just selling T-shirts, and I'm talking kind of like thousands of dollars we've raised just selling T-shirts at our jazz festival. We have UNC Greeley Jazz Festival every year. And then this one was kind of unique, is we have this jazz series locally called the Sunset Jazz Series. And actually they have a deal with us where if we can get a couple of people to go, officers or members, or they will pay our Gen program $300 just to move the piano for the performance. So it's a kind of a nice way to for them to get a donation, for us to be involved, and then we can go if we offer to help to that concert for free that's going to happen that night. And also any of our Gen members also get a $5 ticket to go see whoever comes in, which is really great. So just thinking about specifically your communities and what would work for you, I hope that's spark some thoughts for some people.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I think we have a question. Mike Gunter had a question he wanted to ask.
Sure.
Yeah, hi, my name is
Hey, Mike.
I'm a junior music education major at Florida Southern College. We're a pretty small private institution right smack dab in the middle of Florida. Our jazz program is pretty small. It's budding and growing pretty fast with the help of Dr. Jeff Benatar. He's here as well. We have just under 30 students currently. I guess my question kind of just goes out, wondering, with such a small student body, if we were wanting to get this started, how would we interface and kind of, without impeding on the membership of other organizations that already exist on campus, like the NAFME, specifically is one that's in mind. We have a pretty strong NAFME presence on campus. What roles does Jen fulfill that we could kind of recommend both memberships, or how would it help grow our program as it's already kind of steamrolling forward? So just whoever might have tips for that.
That's a great question, Mike. I should tell you too, although Jen is based in Chicago, I'm not far from you guys. I'm in Kissimmee. That's where I live. So I'm coming to you live from Central Florida, COVID capital of the world. Yeah, but you guys are right. You guys are just north, right? Like of the villages, I think, where y'all are?
Yes, sir. We're south.
South. Okay, cool. So I think Shayna wanted to answer that. I'm going to answer one thing real quick, re-NAFME. We are definitely not an organization that competes with NAFME. In fact, one of our board members is on the board of NAFME, and we work hand in hand with them. We're actually even beginning to develop a relationship with them where we work with them to provide some clinicians and things to some of their regional and state conferences. I, as a music educator, and definitely biased, I work for Jen, but the types of clinics and resources and performances, workshops, all the types of stuff we're talking about, the conference sessions, the online events that we've been doing. We've produced 30 online events since January. They are going to be jazz pedagogy focused, and they're going to be taught by experts in this field. So I would really, if you're looking for members and you want to start a chapter, I would focus on, like you said, those jazz students, the students in the ensembles, so that you can drive those jazz specific benefits to either the jazz musicians or the music educators. All music ed programs are different. They should all require jazz. Just a humble opinion. Most don't, but this is another way, like Domi was saying, with the large music ed presence that they have to get that, those jazz resources, that pedagogy, attend the conference, go to those clinics, if your university isn't making that a requirement for your ed students. Go ahead, Shayna.
Central is kind of in a similar, might be a similar school as yours. We don't have like a jazz major anymore. We have jazz classes offered, but I'm pretty sure none of them are required for the music education degree, which is really sad because jazz is, a huge part of music education. So that's kind of how we get members of NAFME to also join Jen, because NAFME doesn't always cover all of the jazz aspects. So we kind of plug, like, since you're not required to take jazz at Central, join CWU Jen so that you can learn about how to be a good jazz educator.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. That helped a lot.
Anybody else have any questions or anything they'd like to add? We'll probably sign off here in a few minutes. Domi, Mark, did you have anything you wanted to continue with? I'm going to ask Mark to talk about something, and I'm going to ask Domi too, because the unique thing is that not only do we have 2 chapter officers from the same chapter, but both Domi and Mark have participated in our other programs. Domi was a Sisters in Jazz. He was the bassist in the Sisters in Jazz Quintet last year, and Mark, you did the Young Composer Showcase, right?
I came on the Jamie Aebersold scholarship.
Sorry, my apologies. And Mark was the recipient of the Jamie Aebersold Endowed Scholarship last year. Would either of you mind just like talking a little bit about, those programs and how being a member and having access to that, what your takeaways were, and what you're doing now after that experience?
Sure. So last year I had the absolute honor of playing in the Sisters in Jazz combo. And I would encourage you all, whether you're a candidate like I am or a teacher, to encourage your students to apply. I initially was not planning to apply because I thought there's no way that I would ever get something like that. And my studio professor was like, Domi, you might as well. It's free. Just try. And then I ended up getting it. And it was just an incredible experience. There's just the fact that to play in a group of all women is pretty much something that needs to be manufactured at the moment. And just having that experience, it was like just relaxing. And it's hard to put into words, but I would recommend anyone who's eligible, like, try it. You never know. And getting to work with Tia Fuller was pretty magical as well, just on top of everything else. And getting to perform at the conference. And these are all opportunities that were only available to me because I was an active Gen member and read the emails and thought, why not try? Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I'll add it was a great experience. The Jamie Aebersold scholarship specifically, if I remember correctly, was $1,000 scholarship plus help to go down to the conference last year in New Orleans, which already is like, that's more than the $1,000 worth right there. So I got to spend the 4 days there. And the best thing about the program for me, or for the conference for me, is just meeting up with so many old friends that I have not lost contact with, but I live in Colorado now, and I'm from New York, and I went to school in upstate New York. And actually, Jeff Penatar over here is somebody I met through a mutual friend at our conference in Reno. But the scholarship specifically was really great. They had put together a mentor program for everybody who won these scholarships, and I got to work with Julius Tolentino, who actually had a lot of similar friends and connections that we had. So we got to kind of go out in New Orleans and experience some food and talk, and that's really great. Yeah, and basically got to go as a VIP member to all of the events at Gen, which is really great too. And they held an award ceremony. And actually, because Tia Fuller was running late with the Sisters in Jazz program one of the days, there's a I can't remember, Jesse, the specific name of it, but Gen has an ensemble that they put together every year to perform of a lot of the professionals there. And because Tia was late, Julius was like, hey, you got your horn? Let's sit in. So I got to sit in on their rehearsal, which was really cool. So an unintended benefit to that scholarship.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for talking about our programs. I think that about does it for the presentation of the chapter information. Does anybody else have any questions? Of course, you can email me. I'll throw my email here one more time in the chat, and I will make sure you have the link to what we call our join page. And I'll send you directly to the chapter info there if you click on that link. I'm here all day. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I will leave Jen's number in the chat as well. My extension is extension 4. If you want to talk about chapters, if you need to purchase one and you need to do it over the phone, we can do it that way as well. As you can see, Domi has put in the UNCO chapter email, and Shayna provided the CWU one as well. So if you have questions about how they run their chapters, especially at the collegiate level, feel free to reach out to them as well. We are going to make an edit of this video to cut it down to just present the kind of the pertinent information, and we will circulate that to everyone who is on this call, as well as our email list as well. And I look forward to welcoming those of you who decide to become chapters as the newest chapter members of GEN, and we would really, really love to see you register for the conference and check out the largest global jazz festival, January 6 through 9, 2021, streaming live right to your device. So thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you soon, and please email us with any questions. Take care. Bye, everyone.